Today, in current events from a Christian perspective, a viral clip is going around on social media of a man who is claiming that capitalism, especially in regards to Christianity, is really, really bad and should never be used, and that Jesus was the best example of a socialist, and so we should follow that example because real socialism has never been tried or something, right? Anywho, spoiler alert, this is silliness. Jesus was not a socialist. This is not even a new argument, but apparently people are falling for it again, so we need to talk about it. All this and more today. I'm Matt Odegaard, and this is Church Public. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to Church Public. Really appreciate you dropping by today. If this has been a minute, appreciate all of your support and just jumping into the channel. Go ahead and do all the buttons, likes, and comments and things. You know what to do at this point. If you don't, well, probably nothing will happen. But if you want to get notified, if you want to do those kinds of things, feel free to do those kinds of things. I appreciate it because that just grows some awareness. This is a one-man show. I'm just doing this all by my lonesome, and appreciate any help that you want to give or throw this way. If you haven't checked out the Substack, which at this point is not new, but I'm going to keep saying that it's new because there's more room. There's more room for you on the Substack if you'd like. These free channel subscriptions there are pretty much open. There may be some other less free options coming at some point, but at this point, it's all free. So just jump on in there. If you want to hit the email notifications, you'll get those. And would love to see you there, and I can send it directly to you. All right. So from there, we're going to jump right in. I'm going to give total transparency to those who are listening. If you're just listening, wonderful. If you're watching, you may notice that I'm experiencing some technical difficulty. So I don't know. This may be an audio only one. We'll see how things go. I intend to do video, and I intend to have some clips and things, but sometimes the technology just does technology things. And when you are the producer and recorder and cameraman and speaker, there's only so many things you can do. Just saying. So anyway, glad to have you here. Let's jump in. So what we've got is this first story. I saw it bouncing around the interwebs and felt like this is right up my alley in terms of current events from a Christian perspective, because we want to talk about Christianity. We want to talk about theology. I want to point to the Bible as much as I can because that's really where the truth lies. It's not in me. And if you take issue with anything I say, please check my work and please reference scripture. And I'm sure that I'm continuing to learn as we all are. And yet I'm going to do my best to, one, read the Bible, and two, do what it says. That's really not just this channel's goal, but my life goal. I want to read the Bible and do what it says. And while we live here in America in a Christian society, some might even say a Christian nation, ooh, dangerous, there's many who don't believe in Jesus. There's many who don't believe in the Bible. There's many who read the Bible and then come up with the conclusion that is not in the Bible. So I think that's what we're dealing with here. This person named Nathan Apfel, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, was on Tucker Carlson, and he claimed that Christianity is a great example of socialism. Jesus was the best example of socialism. So let's listen to this and probably talk about it. So here we go.
I would actually argue, and this is a bold statement, the Democratic Republic is the greatest government experiment in the history of humanity. I would say
I've
that.
enjoyed it.
You've
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Yeah. So we enjoy it. I love America. You love America.
I do.
Capitalism should not be anywhere near Christianity.
You think?
Christianity is more, and I don't like the word socialist with the weight it carries, but Christianity is socialism at its core.
Non-authoritarian.
It's the marker to build social capital. You look at that early Church of Acts, and it transformed Rome within a couple hundred years, the greatest superpower of its time, to where Constantine was like, I'm a Christian hanging out with these dudes. They had no money, they had no buildings, but somehow the love of their neighbor transformed the greatest superpower of its time. That's dangerous.
Man, it's like he's so close. He's not wrong that the underlying value, the transformative value really in Christianity is love. That's true. And that is what makes Christianity different, because this is not a religion of force. It is not a religion like some others, and we may even talk about on the show today, where you must force people to follow no matter what, even on some other religions, by penalty of death or other things, if you don't convert. That is not what Christianity is. Christianity, we hear in both John's gospel and 1 John and 2 John that God is love and people know us by our love. Those things are all true, and that's great. Unfortunately, from there, his conclusion is just dead wrong. He just misses the point entirely and misses the idea that my love individually for anyone around me is, for me, compelled by my love for Christ. Christ loved me, therefore I love others. Again, that's 1 John. That's John 3:16. I mean, like there's a lot of places where I am told and shown that because Christ has loved me so much, I am now called to love my neighbor. Love God with all your heart and soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. This is clear. The problem here is that he is then conflating this idea that the government should force your love of neighbor. That's not Christianity. But before we go too far, I do want to point out that this particular person is also, I think this is important. This is important to note that in debunking this theology and making sure we understand what correct theology is, it's important to note that this particular guy apparently is also the director of a great movie from 2014 titled, and no, this is not a joke, Chicks Dig Gay Guys. So I've never seen this movie. I have no plans at all to see this movie. I cannot in any way endorse this movie. However, according to this IMDb post, which I'm showing if you're just listening, he directed Chicks Dig Gay Guys. I think that's important to understand where this person is coming from. His quote, Nathan says, Christianity is socialism at its core. Capitalism should not be anywhere near it. Here's the problem again, and we'll talk about capitalism in a second. I'm going to go backwards. We're going to start with socialism. And he didn't say it. I joked about that at the beginning, that real socialism has never been tried. Usually that's the thing that people say. They're like, I've just discovered socialism and it's incredible because it takes care of people and it just is the embodiment of love. Therefore, real socialism has never been tried. And once it is, it will solve all over the world problems. The problem is real socialism has been tried. And when real socialism is tried and it's extended to the end, it causes a lot of human suffering, way more than they attempt to solve, because it is at its core, socialism is theft. It forces those that have to give to those that do not. I realize that is a vast oversimplification of it, but read the original texts, read Engels and Marx, and read these texts, and then look at the history of the nations that have tried to do socialism in its pure form, and see that once you identify this person number A has things, and this person number B does not have things, according to socialism, you have to redistribute the things that person A has to person B. What if person A says, no, I don't want to give up the things that I have worked hard to earn? Then the government has to come in and take it by force. This is force, no matter how you slice it. You can say it's nice and it's loving, but it's still forcing someone to do something. And that is theft, and therefore that is unbiblical. Capitalism at its core is the idea that, and this is a very simple explanation, your merit creates your outcome. And again, a very simplified definition, but that is the definition. The harder you work, the more things you can possibly get. The idea there is a rising tide raises all ships, or in other words, if you work hard and your neighbor works hard, everybody gets better. And in fact, as we've seen, documented by history and governance, that there is actually no end to this. The tide does keep getting higher, and the society keeps getting better the more people are exercising this form of both governmental action and economic idea, philosophy, however you want to put it. And I will be fair and say, I'll steelman this. Capitalism can be bad. And a lot of people railing against capitalism identify this and understand, because capitalism at its end can be pure greed. And pure greed can run over all kinds of humans and destroy lives to get rich. Of course, that is bad and that is anti-biblical. But merit-based growth is not inherently bad. Working really hard to achieve whatever you can achieve is actually good. We're called to work hard. So the Bible precludes socialism. You cannot believe in socialism and be a proper Christian. 2 of the 10 commandments: 1, you shall not steal; 2, you shall not covet. So you can't take things from people without their permission, and you shouldn't want the things that people have anyway. And this is the difference in between government and individual generosity. That we should be generous. That's absolutely true. The Bible is very clear that as an individual, I'm to be as generous as I possibly can be. I have a lot of personal growth to do in that area. That's true. And if someone compels me to give, then I am not a cheerful giver anymore. 2 Corinthians 9:7, Paul says this very clearly. Each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly, or, hear this part, under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. If you are forced to give, right there in Scripture, right there in 2 Corinthians 9, you're no longer a generous giver. You're no longer in biblical alignment. This is the idea between generosity and government. You can give what you've decided to give, and you should, and that's wonderful. But the moment you're giving is compelled, you're no longer engaging in generosity, and now it's theft at worst and compulsion at the best, neither of which are biblical ideals. So this whole idea that socialism is better, socialism is the gospel, is wrong, and it's not even new. But merit, on the other side, on capitalism, there is no perfect system. First of all, let's say there's no perfect system. Jesus himself says the poor will always be with us, which is not a get off the hook card that, okay, there's always going to be poor, so just do whatever you want and don't help them. No, it's saying there is no way this side of heaven to fully eliminate poverty. It is not possible. This paradise that socialism, Marxism, communism point to is an impossibility here on earth, and Jesus even himself says that. But that's their alternate reality that they really want us to point to as a goal, so that if you get socialism right in this way, and everyone is compelled to give the things that they're supposed to give, then there will be peace on earth and paradise. It's not going to happen. It's not possible. That's not the way the world works, and it's not even what Jesus has said about anything. Instead, 2 Thessalonians 3:10, we read, if anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat. Some of the other translations say, let him starve. It's a very harsh statement. And yet, that lines up more with a capitalist economy, a capitalist ideal of work as hard as you can, and then you will be okay. Yes, I know it doesn't always work out that way. Yes, I know sin has entered the world. Yes, I know there's evil and not everybody makes it. This is tragic. And yet, we have to do the biblical thing, even if it is the hard thing, even if sometimes it doesn't feel like the right thing. If you, in your heart, feel like you want to help that person who is in need, please, by all means, do. You may even talk with other friends and say, hey, what can we do? How can we do more? That's wonderful. If you look at your friend who has a lot of things, and then you look at that needy person who has no things, and you say to your friend, you must give your stuff to this other person, now you're compelling, and now it's not cheerful giving, and that is not the way. I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to simplify it to the point that we can talk about in 5 or 10 minutes here. If you want, drop a comment in. I'll talk about this for an hour or two if you want me to. I don't think anybody wants me to do that, so I'm trying to go through quickly. So all of that said, and summing up, the funny thing about all this is it is literally not new. Once every couple years, probably, I read this book called Christianity and Liberalism by Machen. If you have not read this book, it's fairly small. It's a quick read. It's wonderful, and will probably give you a perspective. I think I don't have the. It's on my shelf. I'm looking to my side here. I don't have the print date, but I believe it was like, 30s, 40s. It's basically 100 years old at this point, and deals with a lot of these same things. None of this is new. There are even sermons. I was looking earlier at a sermon from 18 something or other, like 1878, probably 1898, something like that. That was dealing with this exact same thing. This is not new. The Catholics, the Pope is not the current Pope, of course, because there's some liberal theology there, but popes have weighed in on socialism. This is not new. But apparently, at this point, it's coming around again because, and it makes sense, this feels good. It feels good to say, love your neighbor is the only value that you have and just do whatever they need, no matter what, and force other people to do the same. It's just that's not biblical, and that's what the Bible says. And we should love our neighbor, and individuals have different responsibilities than government. That's really the category error that tends to happen when you get into this conversation that should be easy to overcome, but people just can't quite figure out. And it's surprising to me, but it just is the reality of what it is. So when you come across these kinds of things, the reason I bring them up is so that you can look and go, oh, yeah, this is not what it is. We need to read the Bible, read theologians who look into the text, apply the text, rather than cherry picking verses that advance their own political aims. That's the danger, and we don't want to do that. Okay, let's look at a couple other news stories while we have time. I'm a verbal processor, so I hate to say I'm still experiencing a couple of technical difficulties. I think everything is going right now, but it doesn't look the way that I want it to, and that's fine. I'm just going to keep rolling with it. So, in some quick news hits, here's what... Oh, there it goes. This machine is angry with me today. I'm just going to keep going. We have a new identity drop. I know that I have been saying for years we need to understand the LGBTQAAIP hashtag plus squiggly emoji $ cult, which it is, and it identifies like that. It operates like that because what this idea does is it takes your identity, which should be founded in Christ, who is our strength. That's where we should find our identity. But this idea, this ideology, this, I would call it like cultish fake religion, wants you to put your identity into all of these letters and now apparently numbers. So we have a new identity drop. This is from our wonderful friends in the North, our Canadian brothers and sisters. Here's the new identity.
Deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2S LGBTQIA+. This is abhorrent.
You know, when none of you are old enough to understand this, but you know when those oldie things that were it was a disc and you put it on the machine and then it spun around and then every once in a while if you like walked next to it too quickly, what's called the needle would bump and then it would skip. That's what this sounds like to me. It sounds like a record skipping. It sounds like this person got stuck and is just like stuck in a loop of letters. We're going to hear it one more time, just so you experience what I'm experiencing.
Deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2S LGBTQIA+. This is abhorrent.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. This is very serious because we're talking about a genocide. If you didn't know, there's a genocide. What is the genocide? I don't know. I haven't heard about it. I don't think anybody's heard about it. I don't know what it is. Because there kind of isn't one. And Genos, I mean, like, so there's a specific group of people that is being selectively targeted for elimination in genocide. Only we don't know what it is. I think Matt Walsh did some of the research on this to figure out what those letters actually mean. And apparently this is not new. Canada's been working on this for a while. Initially, it was the 2SLGBTQQIA+. Now, I sound like a broken record. And somewhere in the last couple of years, they also did a working group to include then I'm going to do my best on this, MMIWG2SLGBTQQIA+. I'm pretty sure I messed up some of those letters. That is just literally impossible to say. But Matt Walsh, I think, did some work on this, and the letters stand for, here we go, missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, plus. And there's always a plus because, of course, you can't ever end this letter competition because if you did, then someone would be left out because they invented a new one, and then they would be sad. And we don't want anybody to be sad. That really is the bottom line. But in this case, apparently the bottom line is to end the genocide. Again, what the genocide is, I'm not sure. You'll have to research that. I could not figure it out. I can say that apparently the MM is missing and murdered. So I'm confused. Maybe Canada can explain this to me, but the rest of these, as far as I understand, and admittedly, I am not in this community, so I may never understand, according to them. But admittedly, I believe the rest of these letters talk about your sexual identity. I don't exactly understand how, I'm just going to say this is going to get me banned from everywhere, how murdered is a sexual identity. It's sad, but I'm struggling. I'm struggling, Canada. Canada, please call me. Please call me and help me. I don't understand. I did do some research on this though, and I will say it's maybe good for this person to know. I discovered that the MMIW, the missing and murdered Indigenous women, are actually mostly in a large number killed by other Indigenous people, according to the statistics in Canada. So I wouldn't say the problem's solved, but you could know where to look if you were so inclined. Well, I'll just finish this section by saying, Canadians, I know free speech is kind of on the ropes up there, so I would say you better learn this new acronym quickly. If you don't say it right, you may go
right to jail right away.
Yeah. Okay, let's come back to America because we're doing this kind of silliness in America too. Mamdani, the, I guess, what do you call him? The socialist, allegedly socialist, communist, I don't know, mayor of New York, who's also Muslim, very openly. That's not talking out of school, like he's said this. Appointed a trans leader to the LGBTQAIP hashtag ++ squiggly emoji $sign office. I'm not going to try to say the MMIWP LMNOP one because we don't have that yet in America. Anyway, if that also was confusing to you, that means there's a man who is dressed like a woman who will lead other confused people to do stuff in the New York government. It's important to note, this is a good time for me to infuse if you are just listening. If you're just listening, this might make actually more sense to you because you will hear and immediately know this person is a man because you can hear that. If you're just watching and the sound were off, you may actually not know because there's some makeup and a dress and things. But that's the importance of sound and audio. If you're interested, go to the Substack. I'm going to put this on the YouTubes, but sometimes they like me, sometimes they don't. And we'll probably put it on Rumble. I'll put it on all the places. It'll be on all the audio places. So if you're listening on any of the audio places, wonderful. And thank you. And if you want to see this and hear it, here you go.
We all know too well the queer community as well as intersecting communities and adjacent communities are under extreme attack in this country from all angles, it seems, from the highest levels of government to society in general and to even sometimes people that we consider friendly fire, unfortunately. And so now more than ever in this moment, it is so critical, I think, to have trans leadership because
critical. It's critical. So let's pause on the friendly fire part. You know, and again, I don't know of much of attacks in this community other than, again, I mean, I hate to say allegedly, I'll just put allegedly everywhere here. According to statistics that I've seen, most of the attacks on this community come from within its own community. You can look that up. That's statistically true. So then let's talk about friendly fire. I think we should look at what the Muslim world says. I mean, I think since Mamdani is an outstated Muslim, maybe we should see what Islam says about the trans community. The 4 Sunni schools of jurisprudence, Sunni schools, if you're unfamiliar, are the schools that theologically review Islam and Muslim theology. So they all actually agree that practicing homosexuality is an egregious crime that merits an especially harsh punishment. Sunan Abu Dawud indicates that Muhammad instructed, quote, if you find anyone doing as Lot's people did, I'm going to pause there in this quote and say, if you don't know what Lot's people did, that was sodomy, and Sodom and Gomorrah are now non-existent on the earth because of that. And continue on the quote here. If you find anyone doing as Lot's people did, kill the one who does it and the one whom it is done. End quote. In Bukhari, he curses effeminate men and masculine women and orders his followers to, quote, turn them out of your houses, end quote. So apparently this attitude on homosexuality was adopted by Muhammad's successors. Abu Bakr, the first Rashidun Caliph, had a homosexual burned at the stake. The fourth, Muhammad's son-in-law Ali, ordered that homosexuals be stoned. He also had at least one thrown from the minaret of a mosque. And some variance exists in social perspective, government perspective, individual perspective, but these foundational texts have exerted some influence on Islamic thought over the years regarding homosexuality, not to mention men who dress as women. I could go on. I think you get the point. The Muslim faith clearly forbids what Mamdani is doing, what this man dressed as a woman is doing, but it doesn't matter because the combination of these two leftist forces are first trying to eliminate the only thing that stands in the way of conquest, and that would be Christians. Speaking of men dressed as women, gosh, I hate this. I hate doing this. This is just the worst. But I have to do this. Why do I have to do this? Because we need to bring some sanity to this world, and someone's got to do it. And if I have to do it, I'm going to do it for you. And people hate me for it. It's not a great thing. But truth is truth, and we need to say the true things. And if we're not courageous enough to say the true things, who's going to do it? So, speaking of men dressed as women, you all may remember this, which got me personally in some hot water a couple years ago here. I think it was 2024 Olympics. There was a dude, clearly a dude, dressed as a woman, as a boxer. This is Algerian Olympic boxer Imain Khalif. And I mean, I got in an argument at one point with some other Christians who were like, you just have to treat people kindly. And I said, sure, but we also can't lie. Again, another commandment. And if a person is lying about being a man, that's a problem. If a person is lying about being a man and punching a woman in the face, that should be a worse problem than calling the person who is a man dressed as a woman a man, I think. Again. So, in truly shocking to no one news, Algerian Olympic boxer Imain Khalif has confirmed he has male chromosomes. Again, this isn't shocking to me at all, but I bring this story back up because people were very frustrated when I and many others said this the first time. Hey, you just have to trust what people say about themselves. He says he's a woman, so he's a woman, or she, or whatever at that point. And anyone with eyes and a brain could look and go, no? So he identified as a female in order to compete against women. If you watched any of that, he just smashed this girl's face in. And one, I don't think girls should be boxing at all. So you can come at me for that. I'm still right. Women should not punch other women in the face. Like I'm gonna stand on that hill. Like I'll die on that hill. Like women should just not punch other women in the face for sport, especially. I mean, and it is exponentially worse for a man to punch a woman in the face. Everyone should agree on this. This shouldn't be controversial at all, and yet it was incredibly controversial. And so I just bring this to you as an update to the story. The shockwaves of this revelation didn't go anywhere because everyone already knew this. But thank you to the National Review for doing a story that admits this man is a man. The man, Khalif, went on to say, quote, I have female hormones. People don't know this, but I have taken hormone treatments to lower my testosterone, end quote. Yeah, I can't even, whatever. Okay, so I'm going to move on from the story because I don't care anymore. But it is important to say true things, and it's the same thing as socialism. This is why people go to that Mamdani story. How could a Muslim who clearly, according to their own scriptures, do I have my Quran? My Quran's over there. Who clearly, according to their own scriptures, cannot accept homosexuality, will hire a trans person, a man dressed as a woman, to lead the LGBTQAIP hashtag plus square the emoji $sign force in the government. People are like, how can these two things happen? It's because once you try to change reality, it doesn't matter what way you change it, you just have to force people to believe that reality. Both of these things are the same. Socialism is the same. You need to force people to believe that if they don't give up their wealth, they're a bad person. This MMWIP ideology needs to force you to believe that a man actually, literally can become a woman. They have to force you to do it, because if you don't believe and you start believing reality, then their whole made-up imaginary world falls apart, and they can't stand that. So, speaking of Muslims and Islam, this is another not joke. This is a real story, people. Islam is now claiming that they were part of the Alamo. Of all the things I've said today, if you know those, what's that game? Two truths and a lie. You know, where you say like three things and then someone has to guess which of them is not real. I would guess this one is the not real one. I would guess like that's just too far. Like, no, there's no way that the Muslims, the Islamic people in Texas are going to say, you know what we need to take over? The Alamo. Well, now they're claiming the Alamo as part of their heritage. According to the Daily Wire, the Texas State Board of Education faces pressure from leftist activists and conservative lawmakers as it meets Friday to consider a push to place more positive references to Islam in the state's history curriculum. Again, we're talking about Texas. The founding of Texas needs to be more Muslim. That's the goal here. If you're sitting there going, again, this has to be a big joke, it's not. This is real, and this is the place where we are in our country. This is why I say these things, and people go, why do you even have to say these things? Because people do not understand, and they don't even believe shenanigans like this are happening. Quote, the petitioner's efforts claim that Islam influenced our founding culture and way of life. For instance, the board recently responded to public testimony asserting that the Alamo is an Islamic building, end quote. I don't know what to say at this point. I don't know what to say. This is real, people. This is where we are. If you import the third world and you import an ideology and a religion that is not Christian, that does not believe in the true and living God, and they believe in other things, they're going to take over everything. They're just going to. That's not any of the phobics or the isms. It's just real. We just have to live in the real. Two gods cannot exist in the same place. I'm doing a Bible study on this in another context because, like, for instance, when the Israelites are told to go into the Promised Land, they're told very specifically, get rid of every other religion and religious idol because you will fall prey to them. These gods cannot exist in the same place. You have to choose one. Let me continue a little in this story. Officials in the Lone Star State are reviewing social studies standards among a push from Muslim activist groups who claim current proposals are, quote, exclusionary and Islamophobic, end quote. So in other words, Muslims want to put more Muslim things into social studies textbooks for high schoolers and class students in Texas. I'll skip through some of this. The fight over standards has been raging for weeks, with Muslim groups organizing in support of changes. In March, an Islamic center in Houston hosted a discussion on, quote, challenging Islamophobia in Texas schools, end quote. This is where we are. Texas, you would think, is the center of the country, the most conservative place in America, you would think. And yet, in the third largest city in America, Houston, this is happening. And you just need to understand this is real. Two religions cannot ultimately coexist. They just can't. There can be some freedom for certain expressions and things, but in the end, there is only one God, and it's not Allah. Okay, don't get too down. Don't get too depressed. I want to turn us to Romans 8:28. All things God works for the good of those who love Him. So all of this, God is using. God is doing something good in the land. We need to remember that. So in the middle of all this craziness, it's great to see that Fort Worth, Texas, is reinstalling the Ten Commandments. There you go. Giant Ten Commandments. I love this. We need more of this. This is not going to fix anything per se, because you have to read it and do what it says. But I talk about the Ten Commandments a lot because they're important and they still apply. And we need to learn them and we need to memorize them and we need to apply them when we hear crazy shenanigans like we just heard. And if you're just listening, I'm going to look at the first commandment on here. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. It's a pretty good one. We should definitely do more of that. Second thing I want to look at in other good news is Wesley Huff, an apologist, Bible scholar, is talking with a guy named Stephen Bartlett on a video on a podcast like this. It's kind of an inception of podcasts, but this is good enough to post. And he talks about the gospel, heaven, hell. This is a great summary. So we're going to listen to this, and then we'll probably wind up closing down. Here we go.
If we're talking about like a good place, bad place, in the very simplest of terms, yes, but heaven isn't full of good people. Heaven is full of people who understand they are not good enough. And so I mentioned that like justice, mercy thing. Justice is fulfilled on Jesus. So because justice is fulfilled, now mercy, which is not getting what we do deserve, is able to be given to those who put their trust in Jesus.
So if I don't believe in Jesus,
Yeah.
and I don't believe in the Bible, but I live a good life, I'm nice to people, I'm charitable, try and be kind wherever I can be,
Yeah.
and I don't believe in God, am I going to hell or heaven as it relates to the scriptures?
Well, I don't think if you're living your life rejecting God, God is not going to force you into his presence.
So I'm not going to go into heaven. I'm not going to go to heaven then.
No.
Where am I going to go?
Well, you would go to hell.
So if I don't believe in the Bible, and Jesus and God, then I'm going to go to hell.
Yes, insofar as if heaven is a place for those who have submitted their lives to Jesus, who are living the identity of what they're created to be, and said, your will be done, God.
Yeah.
Hell is a place where God says, you rejected me, your will be done.
Oof. Man, I couldn't have said it better myself. We're going to leave on that and just say, go share the gospel wherever and whenever you can with all those that God puts into your path. That'll do it for me today for Church Public. I'm Matt Odegaard. Keep the faith. Once again, thank you so much for stopping by today. I really appreciate you. If this is helpful, send it to somebody. Share, like, subscribe, hit the buttons, hit the notifications, do all the things. You can support at churchpublic.com/support or Substack. And that's helpful. Otherwise, God bless you. We'll see you next time.